Well, I'm a lawyer, so I'll speak about legal issues with food law. One of the legal issues I think is important is how the law has addressed innovation in the food sector. Innovation is well recognised by industry and by policymakers as being essential for our industry and also essential to help consumers make healthier choices with their food. But I will illustrate one of the problems with the legal systems for innovation by thinking about two examples. One of those is the novel food regulation. It was a regulation adopted about 20 years ago, and it had at its heart two key aims. One was obviously to ensure that so-called novel foods placed on the market in the EU were safe, but the other was to enhance competitiveness. Now, in the 20 years or so since that regulation was adopted, only about 90 novel foods have been approved in the EU, which is a very low number, averages about 4 or 5 a year or 3 per member state. And so some might say it's been a complete flop and that's actually stifled innovation. Now, if you're looking to develop a novel food, you also have a very long wait ahead. It takes on average about 3 years to get through the novel food process, and it costs a lot of money. I think Unilever have stated publicly that in order to get one of the first novel food approvals, it spent about 24 million euro on the R&D needed to generate the dossier for the novel food approval. Now that sort of money is simply out of reach for a lot of small and medium enterprises. Things have changed in that we have a new regulation, and that's supposed to bring into play a lot of efficiencies and speed up things, and I really hope it does. The other example is the health claims regulation, which we have in the EU. Now, countless number of surveys have told us that if consumers are going to switch to healthier food, they want to understand what the benefits are with the food choices that they make. And that means that you have to be able to communicate what those benefits of the food are, and obviously to ensure they're safe. Now, the health claims regulation, one of the key objectives, of course, was consumer protection, but another objective was to enhance R&D and spur innovation in this sector. But in the 10 years or so since that regulation's been adopted, there have only been 5 or 6 innovative health claims approved for food, and that again is really a poor indicator of how the law has treated innovation. I think we need to look at that very hard. One of the problems, of course, is it's very difficult to generate the sort of scientific data you need to support a health claim, but we've been able to do that in the UK, for example, through what used to be a self-regulatory system for approving claims. The other issue is that for certain types of food, it's difficult, of course, to characterise a food across 28 member states. Take whole grain as an example. We have different definitions of what whole grain is depending on which member state you're in. So I do really hope that we can address the and really incentivize innovation by getting our laws in those areas to catch up and provide the right incentives for industry and also for academics in terms of the research opportunity. I think there's a lot that civil society can do. Obviously, as consumers, I think we have a responsibility to make healthier choices and to try to do what we can to tackle the rising obesity epidemic. From a regulatory perspective, and regulators and policymakers, I think the framework has to be there to really spur the type of research that we need to encourage the sort of R&D that will make consumers aware of what choices they need to make. Well, in the UK we have some of the world's leading food scientists. In fact, at the European level, they are extremely well thought of within the European Food Safety Authority, and that's one thing many academics, industry and policymakers are worried about with Brexit is that EFSA will lose influence of some very well-respected food scientists. But food scientists and academics can continue with the good research they're doing. I think it would be helpful if we could see more consensus among scientists and academics about what exactly clinical studies and clinical research should look like, so that there's a bit more transparency over that process. One of the criticisms, if you like, right now about the health claim system and an understanding of what type of clinical studies you need to do really to support health claims is that no one really knows. And that's why you've seen quite a high level of rejections for certain health claims. That's in contrast, for example, to medicines, where you have quite a transparent process for ensuring that before you make an investment into a particular medicine, you can liaise with the regulators, whether it's at the European Medicines Agency or in the UK with the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, and have what we call so-called scientific advice. And it's an understanding, not a binding arrangement, but understanding of what sort of clinical endpoints you'd need, designing the clinical study, and that can be very, very helpful and mean you can approach those studies with more confidence.